Okay, now I'm going to go over some static methods, because you can also add the static on methods. You remember we put the little static right here, and that way we could try to call it, but you can't really do that, so we really don't need the static right there anymore. What we're going to do is we're going to come back to the beginner class, and we're going to create another method. And what we're going to do is we're going to not put the static on it. We're going to make it public so it's accessible by everything. We're going to go ahead and give it a void. We're going to call it Sam. And let's go ahead and give it no parameters, because we're not going to need them. We're going to just make it print out something like .print line, and then we're going to make it print out this is Sam. So now we have this is Sam, and we want to throw it. So let's see if we can throw it. Sam. So that, and as you see, we get an error because we would actually have to create an object of the beginner class to call Sam. But that's only because it's not a static. If we was to change this to static, the error on Sam would just drop and it would run it anyhow. See? This is Sam. That is the difference between a static method and a normal method. So a static method is something that you don't have to create an object for, so long as it is inside of its class. I stress that, if it's inside of the class. Because static makes it a class item, just like the class variables. Like this is a class variable, this is a class method, as you would want to call it. I call it that. I don't think they call it that, but that's what it does. It makes it static for the whole class. So if I created like a second Sam or anything like that, it would just change the arguments on it. The next thing we're going to go over are constants. Constants are, say like this right here, we wanted to change this to static final int 0. Static final int num, and now we get an error because I can't increment num, because this makes number permanently 0. And why would you want to do this? But let's say like for numbers like pi, like if you had a static final double pi and made pi was 3.14 and something else, you would make pi a static number because you can't change pi. Pi has to be 3.14, just like the number 1 or the number 2. That's all you would use these constants for. And you make a constant by putting the static keyword and the final keyword in it, and then you can't change it. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete this stuff. We're going to go over initialization blocks next, Um, I'm pretty sure you've seen them in other tutorials and didn't know what was going on because they are kind of scary when you first see them because you don't understand them. But an initialization block is pretty much, there's two types. There's a static initialization block and there's a non-static initialization block. And what they do is they run in order. Instead of doing that, let me just show you an example. Let's say we have our public static void main class right here. Let's say let's create a non-static one first. We're going to go ahead and just throw some blocks out. See, like I said, they are weird. Like that right there, no syntax error. I bet you're going crazy right now, wondering what's going on. But what you do is you write your code inside of this, and you could be like system.out.print line, and then you could be like this is the non-static init, and we'll just end it with that. And then we can do something like let's do a while loop. Let's do a for loop. I don't want to create a bunch of other stuff. Let's just say int x equals 0, 0. Then let's say as long as x is less than 10, and let's say x plus plus, and then we need to give it some block. Let's say system dot out dot print line, and let's print out x. The next step would be creating the class. So we're going to go ahead and just create the class beginner, call it bub, and we'll make it equal to new beginner there, and call that. And then let's say one of the great things about these initialization blocks is they initialize even before the constructor does. And I know you're like, whoa, why would that initialize before the constructor? But let me show you an example. Let's say, actually I'm going to put it in the front just for a better example. And let's do this. Let's say system dot out dot print line. I went over the time, so I'm going to have to break this video into 2 times, but since I already went over it, might as well go ahead and take my time, huh? So let's say this is the constructor. Who cares? This is the constructor. And let's print that. And if you look at it, it goes, this is the non-static initializer. So it hits this even before it hits this. And then it starts counting because it goes through the for loop. And then it hits the constructor. That's because these initializers go first, no matter what. Also, a real cool thing about these, if you did absolutely have to have this run after the constructor, you could take this and you can create this inside of your declaration on your thing. So you'd just come over here and you would just print that in there. And as you see, I have two braces right here. So now it's going to run after. So let's see. If you see, the constructor actually runs. Actually, it runs twice because I didn't take this off. But as you can see, let me take this off. And let's do it again. As you can see, the constructor runs and then that runs. But you can pretty much put these anywhere. You can put it right here. It will always run. You can put it right here. You can put it inside of itself. It's not going to call it inside of itself because the X, the X is already created, isn't it? So, just like that, you can just put it inside of itself. It'll just run inside of itself, just like that. So, that's how that works out. But let's go ahead and delete all that. And also the second one is you have a static initialization block, and all it is static and then the initializer, just like the other one. And you just do system.out.print line, and then you print whatever you want. This is static, and whenever you I gotta put that in single quotes. And whenever you print it, as you see, it runs that. This is static. This is the constructor. And you can have as many of these as you want. So that's how that is. But so the big deal on these is that the non-static one can be it executes every time the object is created, and it can initialize instance variables inside of the class. Whereas a static one is a block defined using the keyword static, and it's executed once the class is loaded, and it can initialize only static data members of the class. So that's the difference between the two. That's all I'm going to do for today. I gotta split this all up. I'm also getting with some people to get a new intro song, because I like original music from like non-big people better. If you'd be interested and you're like a musician or something, I'll probably put your music on here if you just send a link of your music. I'll actually use it at least one time, and I'll give you props on it in the video. So thank you for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe, and have a great day.